Persuasive people activate emotional triggers whether they know it or not. By using a specific set of emotional triggers as a diagnostic or lens through which to analyze how influence and persuasion are actually taking place, we can improve the persuasive power of our own communications. The war on Ukraine catapulted the besieged country's president, Volodymyr Zelenksyy, into an international spotlight. And almost overnight, he was a political and leadership sensation. Churchillian was the adjective most often used to describe his unusually effective messaging, which evoked the famously persuasive power of the UK's venerated World War II Prime Minister, Sir Winston Churchill. At first something of a liability, Zelenskyy's pre-political background as an actor, producer, and comedian became an asset when effective, persuasive communication suddenly became the Ukrainian nation's best hope for securing critical support from international leadership and the global community. Let's take a brief look at a few of Zelenskyy's most influential and persuasive tactics as seen through the lens of emotional triggers. When Zelenskyy needed to elevate his profile from that of an entertainer to a potential head of state, he was clean-shaven and wore a conservative suit and tie. No stranger to the persuasive power of appearances, having been in show business, Zelenskyy had a very different profile to convey when his job suddenly called for inspiring hope and determination from a threatened population. Activating the friendship trigger can be accomplished in many ways, but the concept of mirroring is foundational and one of the most effective. It calls for the adoption of visual and behavioral cues that convey your similarity or sameness with those you seek to engage and influence. From the start of the war and throughout, Zelenskyy wisely adopted the look and dress of the Ukrainian everyman, thereby engendering greater comfort and trust from his public. Whether he knew it or not, Zelenskyy was activating a foundational persuasion trigger, the friendship trigger. Undoubtedly, Zelenskyy's most famous persuasive message was the one invoked as a response to the U.S. president's offer of asylum. "The fight is here," Zelenskyy said. "I need ammunition, not a ride." Now, imagine if Zelenskyy had simply said, "No, the fight is here, I need ammunition." Still courageous, still admirable, but not the worldwide slogan sensation this contrast-triggered message ultimately became. Zelenskyy produced considerably more persuasive power by contrasting what he needed with what he didn't need. The contrast trigger can be simple, often easy, and incredibly powerful. It's used in advertising all the time, but in presentations and selling, it's not used nearly as often as it could be. One of the best ways to tell whether a particular communicator is persuasive by instinct or by skill is whether or not their messaging changes from one audience to another. If you're having almost the exact same conversation with every customer, for example, you're not an influencer, you're a peddler. Volodymyr Zelenskyy's persuasive skill is no fluke. And it's not entirely by instinct or talent either. In very considered fashion, Zelenskyy revised a set of similar messages to make them resonate in unique ways to different world leaders and audiences. To the U.S. Congress, he referenced historical figures and events meaningful to Americans. To German audiences, he drew parallels between his own country's values and challenges and theirs. Throughout his addresses and appeals to the world's nations, Zelenskyy customized his messaging to be more persuasive. He was activating the consistency trigger. The consistency trigger is all about creating alignments between your customers' established patterns of thought, actions, and values, and what you emphasize about your own proposals, offers, or ideas. Volodymyr Zelenksyy successfully persuaded dozens of countries, not to just support his defenses and empathize with his people, but to coalesce around the very principle of unity, to the point where the world itself was inspired to proclaim, "We are all Ukraine." That is some very skillful influence and highly practical persuasion. Hey, it's Russell Granger from the 7 Triggers. If you want the inside track on how to really captivate your colleagues and customers and get yes decisions on your offers and proposals faster and more often than you ever thought possible, subscribe to my channel and I'll send you private, unlisted links to the video explainers for all 7 triggers. This is the neuroscience formula that has catapulted the sales results of some of the world's top companies. And here's the big secret. It's really simple once you know what it is and how to use it. So smash the subscribe button and send a quick email to smash@7triggers.com so I can reply with your private links.